Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello, everyone, and welcome my special guest for today, Kim Wedman. Kim Wedman is a founding and current Eden Method Certification Program faculty member and one of energy medicine's pioneering original students with Donna Eden. As a master teacher and trainer, Kim has utilized Donna Eden's foundational methods for the past 30 years to help students, clients, and fellow practitioners from around the world learn and benefit from the power of energy medicine. In private practice since 1990, she continues to teach and develop practical, proven techniques to clear, balance, and direct the body's natural energies. And we'll be hearing more about that in a few minutes. Kim's holistic approach helps you access magic and wisdom of your own unique energy system to create an energetic environment that supports your overall health, vitality, and well-being. And I'm so happy to have you here, Kim. I don't know if you remember, you probably don't because it was so long ago, but I went to San Diego for one of your energy weekends for women.
Oh.
A long time ago. Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh.
So what happened was I was trying to find a way to use energy practices and keep my license as a psychologist. And in that journey, I landed with ACEP. But before then, I came to Eden Energy Medicine for a long weekend in LA. And you were there with a lot of the other trainers and teachers, and you were advertising this wonderful gathering in the fall in San Diego that I went to, and we had a small group of about 15 people. And that's when I really learned to kind of cement this stuff into my health and wellness program. So I'm so delighted all these years later to have you here. I think that was in 2009. So anyway, it's just wonderful to see you, and thank you for joining today.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And Lori, that's so fun. It brings back such precious memories. I love Encinitas, and I so enjoyed teaching at the Indigo Village. And I do remember those classes. They were a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I remember they were doing construction next door, and I was having a horrible time trying to breathe.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is great. Let's get the spoon and start.
Let's use our energy to make it work. Exactly. Hook up, everybody. Let's do it when you cook. Yeah.
So this is such a treat because I know you talk about tracking energy. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, actually, of course I can. I got into this many years ago, as you mentioned. I was a massage therapist, and I did a lot of deep tissue restructuring work. And I went to see Donna. My husband and I went to see Donna. He had retired from the NBA, and a friend of ours knew her personally. She was still working, and we flew to Ashland, Oregon, and we met her. And she worked on both of us. And she told me all these wonderful things, and I loved what she did. And I'm like, I can do that. And I thought to myself, with all my massage, it'll be a wonderful segue into the energy work. Of course, she scribbled down a bunch of handouts and said a whole bunch of stuff and told us to go and do some of those things, of which none of it I understood, or none of it I even could see what she was meaning. But what I did was I began to study with her. I just began to kind of follow her around like a little groupie. And the way I learned this work was very different from the way that we have it set up now as a certification program with a lot of sort of standardization as much as we can make out of this work, of teaching people how to track their energy and to track other people's energy. And that's what I see myself as. By being with her and working with her and having the privilege of being right next to her and working on her and learning what she understood and what she just had in her cells, I realized not very quickly. I mean, I was always trying to get her to answer the question for me. Finally, she's like, Kimmy, you got this. Now figure it out for yourself. Now start tracking the energy yourself. I was like, okay. And that was kind of the beginning of me, of course, assuming the mantle of that I kind of got what it is that I've been learning. Sometimes what you're learning is so disconcerting because it's so all over the place, you can't really get a handle of it. But you can if you practice it. You can if you do it. And that's the secret, is you have to do it. And then it just kind of comes in and you begin to understand how, oh, this leads to this and this leads to that. And oh, if that meridian's out, then that must mean that this meridian is out. And you can begin to track, just like you're putting a puzzle together. And that's how people get well. That's how you help them learn how to help themselves. And that's why I think Eden energy medicine is so powerful, because in today's world, there is so much wonderful traditional medicine that we do need, but they give you a pill, they write you a script, they say, oh, this is what it is, take this, but you don't really know the side effects unless you do the study. You don't really know what's happening. In our work, we show you through energy testing what's going on with your body, and we give you tools to help bring your body back into balance. It's not the only way, there's nothing else but this, but it is a wonderful marriage of traditional medicine and energy work, all kinds of energy work, but it's a great foundation.
I love it. Thank you so much. And for those who have never heard some of these words before, energy and testing and energy medicine, can you give a brief overview of some of these ideas?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So when I walked in and saw Donna, I was a massage therapist, right? And I had no clue what she was doing. And she was looking at me and telling me about myself and seeing all this energy around me, which I'm like, oh, I want to be able to do that. Well, I didn't get to do exactly that, but I sure do know how to track energy. And you don't have to be able to see it just like she did. What happened is she began energy testing, and John Thie wrote a book called Touch for Health, and there's a whole field of study around it called Touch for Health, which is the energy medicine testing of your muscles on your ligaments, and is what ends up happening. It's called applied kinesiology, and it gives us information. It gives us yes and no answers. And so that was a way in which she found you could show people how they're doing, whether they could see it or not. Like she could see that maybe my meridians, which we have 14 major meridians, were scrambled and going backwards, but I couldn't see that. So she had me walk forward, and she did this thing with my arm called an energy test. And then she had me walk backwards, and she did another energy test, and one was weak and one was strong. And she explained to me, as I explained to my students today, or to people that come to see me for a session, or people that are really ill and don't have another way to go, I explain what's happening with the electromagnetic currents in your body, all these force fields. That's what we're testing, and we're seeing if things are moving in the right direction, and if they're not, then we'll give you a remedy. A remedy as simple as, if you're walking forward and you lose energy, it means your meridians are spinning backwards. But if you just do something like this, simple, tapping your K27, your neural lymphatic reflex points right in here, like Tarzan did, and then you walk forward and you energy test. Most times you will have helped your energy move forward. It triggers a response within the electromagnetic field that says, oh, I'm just doing something backwards. I can move forward. Simple techniques that help people understand.
Yeah, that's great. And for those who are only listening and not seeing the wonderful video, can you explain K27 and where you were thumping on your chest?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, you guys, who remembers Tarzan? Uh-oh, could I be dating myself? What you're doing is you feel along your collarbones. We all have collarbones. So you'll feel along your collarbones until you come to the center where there's a notch in your neck, and you come to the edge of that collarbone. Feel that bone and then drop down towards your belly button to the first intercostal space, not to the next rib, but to the first intercostal space, and push in there or tap there with your fingers, or take a little fist and tap there on either side. That is the point of K27. That's the end of the kidney meridian. The kidney meridian starts in the sole of your feet. We call that the wellspring point. It's where you touch the ground and you connect to Mother Earth. It's where the gravity and all the balance comes up through Mother Earth, comes straight up through your feet, circles around at your ankle, comes up all the way through your legs, flares out at your hips, over the breasts, and stops right here. This is the last point on K27, but it's a real interchange point. And so you don't want it to stop. You want it to connect to the next meridian, which is circulation. And that goes throughout your whole body. And these meridians are related to a time clock, but that's where it is anatomically for you to tap that point, K27, right below the collarbone in the first intercostal space. And you literally send energy to your brain, to your eyes, to your ears, up through your head and your skull. It's really good. It's something that you can do even if you're driving at night and you get kind of narcoleptic or you get really sleepy.
Yeah.
Just take your hand, and I'll just make that sound again, even for those of you that can't see. You're Tarzan, and you just don't do it lightly. You need a percussion. You need to really wake yourself up and feel yourself tapping that point called K27.
Beautiful explanation. Thank you. And now we see why you're a master trainer.
Oh, well, I've been doing it a long time, so I'm happy to see that it's making sense to you.
Yes. And when I saw that demonstration that you're talking about, because Donna uses that quite a bit in her teaching of walking forward and walking back. And then, typically we would get tired, fatigued from going backwards because we're supposed to go forward. But what she said that made so much sense to me, because I'm like, why though? Why? And the idea here is it's your body's alarm system to say you're doing too much, you're exhausted, you're out of balance, and we're going to strengthen your backward movement, preferably lying down or in a chair. Like, stop. It's like a stop sign comes up.
Right.
So I know she said someone came up to the stage and they were jet lagged and they hadn't slept in a couple days because of deadlines. And she said, I'm going to give you a boost of energy with you for K27, but don't abuse it because you're already depleted. And what you really need to do is get rest. So it's kind of like getting a jump start for a moment. But when, the tracking comes in to say, well, why? Why am I running backwards? What's going on? This is just a symptom, really. And then that's when the fun begins because everyone has a different energy signature and it changes based on your mood and what you're eating and your overall physiology and the energies you're around, maybe electromagnetic frequencies. And so the tracking is kind of an ongoing process.
Oh, I so agree. And if it's somebody that's come to see me for a session, that's just the beginning of the session. And we begin to track the 9 different systems or 8 different systems in a regular session to see what's out of balance and what's in balance. And that would be meridians, that would be the chakras, that would be what we call the Celtic weave, which is a lot of figure 8s in your body. That we might even check the grid, which is the deepest layer of your system. It's kind of the chassis of a car. We might check the elements, the 5 elements, which have to do with the seasons and the rhythms of your body. All those things in energy testing, we have ways of testing each one of those things, give us pieces to the puzzle and directions that we can go in the body to help the whole body begin to work in balance and support itself.
Beautiful. And I'm going to ask a question that's a little bit different from the mechanisms, because you've done such a great job, like making the audience understand. We're talking about, Chinese medicine theory, but also others, and combining them all together along with what we call conventional Western medicine. But what about the spiritual realm? Does that figure in for you as well? Things about like maybe the soul or spiritual messaging or guidance, either from the person you're working with or the student or yourself.
That makes me smile because I've run into this question. Donna and David run into this question. We have run into this question for many, 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 many years. And the work itself takes you into that journey.
Okay.
But as far as wanting to direct it, because energy moves, that's one of the first principles of energy. It moves. And if you're opening things and helping to unwind the body, you're taking the body into what's hopefully a safer place. And as you begin to feel that safer place as the person getting the session, they begin to feel their own energy shift and change and connect deeper into their own heart and their own soul. But it is an individual healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't profess to be the connector at all in that way, but I do know that I know how to track the energy to create healing, which creates source, being able to connect with your cells and
Mm-hmm.
with things all being able to kind of thrive. And so in that way, I'm very connected to nature, but I can't say too much more beyond that, except for doing the work, you will experience it. As I have clients, I have over the years come to me and have sessions from me, and the marvelous, magical things that come out of those sessions blow my mind, what I come
Mm-hmm.
up with, or what they come up with, or what just the energy that comes in the room.
Yeah.
How that happens, why that happens, I can't give you that nuts and bolts part of it.
Yeah. I thank you for that. And I don't think I'm really looking for the nuts and bolts. It's nice to hear the admission that it exists.
Oh,
Sometimes I found that um, supplementary alternative integrative care focuses only on body, sometimes body with mind, and other times body, mind, and spirit, but not always. And
mm.
so, regardless of whether it's an intention like a prayer or a ritual or a belief structure, or whether it's a byproduct, it's just nice to know that the dimension is acknowledged.
Oh, it's totally acknowledged. And that actually makes me want to add something to that.
Yeah.
I teach in our certification program in all 4 years. Year one, the fundamentals. Year two is sort of expansion of the fundamentals. And year three is really deepening in the work and learning it and learning to track. And year four is an advanced level that you need to apply for. And we teach something called regression. And then we also teach grid. And both of these classes are extremely different from the first 3 years, because the
Mhm.
first 3 years we're teaching you how to track everything. And the last year, you're bringing all the information that you've learned. But now we create a lot of ceremony around teaching these sacred methods, because we want to create, which we do all the way through the 4 years, we in we invite people, if they're going to bring people in for a session, that they create a safe space, that they create a space that honors a human being, that, and they can make it in any way they want. And so different religions are honored depending on who the practitioner is. But when
Mhm.
we get to fourth year, we create a sacred ceremony before those protocols are begun in both regression and in both grid.
Mhm.
And so that would be kind of along the lines of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But we teach people, I teach my students what it is that I do in the ceremony. I say a prayer. before I clear the room. I do lots of different techniques that we've learned from other modalities and other studies of connection to the world of source or spirit or heart.
Beautiful. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, I certainly don't want to pigeonhole Eden method in terms of a spiritual practice or any or orientation, but the recognition that, spirit exists and that it's part of reality, I think is important to know when you're working with a system, whether they acknowledge that or not. Some people will say it doesn't exist, and that's kind of a fourth year would be a waste of time. Give me the nuts and bolts. And others would say it's the minute you say hello and you want to do something, spirit's right there with you. So there's no separation. But it's nice to know where it all lands. So thank you for that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I also want to clarify, I think all the way through it. I mean, I remember all the years that I taught fundamentals, and people would start out and they would go through that year, and the metamorphosis that they would go through was just depending on the student, but it would be so dynamic. Everybody changes from start to finish.
Yes.
You're working on yourself all year long.
Right.
You're working on your own nuts and bolts, which once you plug them all in, then your body starts to teach you things and unveil things to you. And that magic is what is I think also the same thing that you and I are kind of talking about. It's growth, it's aliveness,
Yeah.
it's movement.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So, I'm wondering, I don't know what, well, before we started recording, we were talking about animals.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, and so I'm just getting, my own intuitive system. I was going to go in a couple different directions, but I'm hearing to bring in animals, that you might have stories about how animals respond, maybe to the students or your clients, as they go through tracking and changing their own energy. The animals might respond too differently.
Oh, I think, of course, like I bet you've seen some of those Facebook, little films where somebody's doing yoga and they have an animal, they'll come and do the moves with them.
Yeah.
That's so, I mean, they just are so energetically alive. My little Amber, we were talking about her talking because she might be on the other side of that door, and I'd have to stop to open that door up and let her in. But she's gotten the message apparently that not to bother me at the moment. But animals are so receptive. And I found, I mean, many years ago, we were teaching in Isla Mujeres in the Yucatan, and some friends of ours had a dolphin discovery, and they had just acquired a dolphin that was needing to be rescued. And Titania, Donna's daughter, and I were given the privilege of going and working with that dolphin. And that was something I'll never forget. We traced that dolphin's meridians, and it was huge. It was much bigger than either one of us, but it was in a pool, and it was a
Okay.
horrible situation. But we were able to do some work with that dolphin that was able to give it some level of peace, but not for long. It needed to be moved out of its situation. And it was, and that had the end, a good story ending. But to be able to work with the animals in tracing their meridians, in hooking them up, and doing different kinds of things, it's astounding to see how quickly, because they don't have near the filters that we do. I might be not quite answering your question.
No, you are. You are.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Definitely. I mean, I asked it slightly differently, but what an even better example.
Oh,
So, maybe the example I was thinking of is, the cat who likes to stay away from people, maybe was traumatized at rescue or something, but then the person starts to get their energies flowing, and then the cat comes over and becomes like a different kind of personality. But so you mentioned the word hookup, which not everyone knows what that is. And when you mentioned the dolphin. So we've talked about the lines of energy, the meridians from the Chinese system, but what is hookup?
hookup is also within the Chinese system. It's actually the central and governing meridians within the Chinese system. It starts at your pubic bone, is the central meridian, and it goes straight up through the center of your body. Actually, it ends in your throat, but we say it ends right here underneath your lower lip. And then governing begins in the backside on your sacrum, goes straight up through the middle of the body, the spine, and over the head, over the nose, and stops at the upper lip. So I always see it like an egg, and I see it like your microcosmic egg that you hook up. And the way in which we hook up is we put our fingers in our belly button, and the other finger of the other hand, doesn't matter which fingers you use, lightly in between your eyebrows and slightly pull up, close your eyes and just breathe. And maybe after 30 seconds or 5 seconds, depending on how often you do it, you'll feel yourself take a little sigh of some sort, where you just, and that literally brings the energy. It hooks up that egg, and that it's like a central core, the way I see it. It just hooks you up, and it also strengthens your whole electromagnetic field. It's actually something you could do if you feel like you're walking into a vulnerable environment and you have a chance to hook up. You're sitting in your car, you're going into a really important meeting. Before you get out of your car, put your finger in your belly button, your other finger right there between your eyebrows, and just sit there for 5 seconds. The magnetite that you have in your fingers, we all have it. And connecting with those places on your body will energize that microcosmic egg of energy that is provided by the central meridian coming from your symphysis and pubis, coming straight up and starting at the sacrum and coming up and over the body. And while you do that, you're stronger going into something. You're stronger. We do that if people feel like they're going to catch something, or just before, if you get in an environment where everybody's going to hold hands. Well, these days sadly, we're so germ oriented. But if you do that little hookup before you hold hands with whoever, I mean, just that quickly, you just touch those places, and then you all hold hands because you need to. The energy will go through you, and it won't land in you because you have some energetic weakness. It just for a short period of time, or if you do it all the time, a long period of time, strengthens your whole system.
Beautiful. So how do you do that on a dolphin?
How do you do it on a dolphin? Well, you can do things in the air, and you're still working with the electromagnetic field. You really can. It was a big stretch, but we're just sort of energetically doing that. And then we were tracing the dolphin's meridians. And of course, if you know how to trace meridians, you actually see an energy line, like the stomach meridian starts right here at your cheekbones, and it drops to your chin, and it circles around the side of your face to your forehead, and it goes straight through your eyes and down through your face, in at your neck, out at your collarbones, over the breasts, all the way down and off your second toe. Okay, so you can do that, but if you can't touch someone, you can do it energetically. And if you're visualizing it, you can literally do it and not even be touching the energy that you're focusing on, and maybe not doing it specifically, like exactly within the right lines. Just have the pattern in your mind.
Yeah, the
That's
intention for it. Yep, similar to distance healing with Reiki. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Did you have a feedback from the dolphin that you were having an impact in the moment?
Well, I did. I felt like the dolphin actually was accepting the energy. I felt like the dolphin was just relaxing for a moment. It just did that kind of, like horses. If you work with horses and they drop their head, or they do that chewing kind of thing, and that often lets you know that they're more relaxed in the environment that they're in with you in that moment. And that the dolphin was close to us and didn't swim away, didn't get real feisty, didn't seem to reject us. It wasn't like Flipper, where we grabbed a hold of its fin and it took a stick and came at us.
Another reference that not everyone made. And if you're from a different era or country, this is a television show about a dolphin. and called
And
Flipper.
I'm definitely aging myself. Only 50 years ago, I'm sure that show was pretty important. But anyway, I do love animals, and I
Thank you for that. That's such a great story. What an honor to be able to work that way. Oh my goodness. Well, I'd like to bounce back to humans for a moment
yeah.
because I know we have, so this recording's coming out in January, and in 2024, Eden Energy Fest is happening
Yay. Yes, it's gonna
in
be fun.
September. So by the time this comes out, it will have happened. And I know that you're going to be presenting a session on a very interesting topic. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to present a class, a 3-hour class at Energy Fest in Tucson, Arizona, on tinnitus. So it'll be pretty specific. And tinnitus is that thing that happens for people, not everyone, but some people, they feel a ringing of sorts or something that doesn't stop, or it has little times that it stops. Sometimes people don't hear it as much as others. Sometimes they hear it a lot. Anyway, we've worked with tinnitus from an Eden energy medicine standpoint and have come up with some tools to utilize. It's not a fix-all, but it can help some more than others, and it cannot help others. It's just, I have specific tools that I will teach in the class how to use and why to use them. We work with the vagus nerve. We work with a lot of energy around the ears. We work with that point right here, right as that point of the ear skin kind of comes together, just massaging that. And anyway, it's about helping to move the energy, which could be related to a lot of other stressful things. There's a lot of reasons that people develop tinnitus. So what I'm doing is teaching you how to track it and how to work with it, hopefully to move some of that energy and lessen the ringing in your ears and help your body begin to unwind itself again and heal in a new way.
Beautiful. I know people really go through a lot of stress with that constant ringing or a high pitch. I've noticed that with the more connected we are with electromagnetic frequencies, 5G and stuff, that I'm hearing kind of a hum, a buzz that I didn't when I was earlier in my life. And when I get out to, let's say, the desert where there's no cell towers and, I can still hear it a little bit. But it's much, much quieter. Because at first I thought, oh, maybe I have that. And then I'm like, oh no, I can track like where in buildings is it stronger and weaker. So if I walk away from, I'm like, oh, it's near the electricity lines, it's near and so on. So, but it's kind of like we're in a soup of a different way than it was, let's say 40, 50 years ago. And so we're having to adjust. And that's only one form of the ringing in the ears. There's
I think we
others.
become, I think as we do this work, we become antennas of a sort.
Yeah.
And we're always that antenna, but we're not always aware of the information and all the different things that we know. And so I think as we unfold as beings, we're beginning, or we've come a long way, we're somewhere on the continuum where we're figuring out another whole electromagnetic piece of how we function and how it works. And some things have more side effects than others, and so we're trying to we're moving along the continuum this way, and we learn things, and then we move back along this way and we deal with things. So that's kind of, I think, what's happening in nature. And as you begin or have developed so much from all your work and studies, you're more of a finely tuned antenna. So
Yeah.
things begin to come through you in a new way. And it's learning about, okay, well, now how are we going to deal with this one?
Yes, it's true. It's true in so many ways. And it affects everything, consciousness and diet and sleep and relationships and self-worth and identity and all of that. Because you're really, some people talk about getting an upgrade,
Or
but
download.
or downloads.
Yeah.
But then also there's like that debris, letting go of the debris or things that maybe were neutral before, but you just don't need them any longer. And so that taking in and letting go process. Oh my
Important,
goodness. Yeah,
important. Yeah,
it's so
important.
exciting. So we've kind of been all over the map from ringing in the ears to dolphins. I love it. Is there anything else as we come to the end of our time that you'd like to share about healing tips from the heart or intuition or helpers, healers, and guides that comes to mind for you?
Keep your heart open and love will find a way. That's pretty much my deal, where you're stuck is where you need to expand.
Mm.
Use energy tools to help you. They can actually bridge a way to change quicker. I found that in Eden Energy Medicine, when I first got into it many years ago, there was a lot of things going on in my life that could take me down kind of circuitous roads that would lead me to dead ends, and I couldn't find my way out of the dead end. But I found that just by doing these techniques in some crazy, miraculous way, simply bridged me outside of the dead end whirlpool and found a way that maybe I didn't know, but I was consciously in a different state. And it worked more consistently and more consistently the more I followed these patterns. So sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. But but I also mean that it's not the only way. Sometimes this really works for people that hear it. When I met Donna, I really heard her. But as far as me hearing other ways, it doesn't necessarily ring right for me. I'm a pretty long time strong purist of Eden Energy Medicine and find that going to the basics and doing those things really help unwind people quickly if you do the work.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for sharing such a personal story of your own evolution. You didn't just take this on because you liked the book cover.
Oh yeah,
You were drawn to it.
No, it didn't fall in my lap.
No, but because of personal struggle, you and your partner, and that you connected with this charismatic brilliance of Donna and the methods, and that they were proven to help you. So I really like your message it has to resonate within the person, whether it's Eden method or something different, to keep going and to not think that you're going to get it all at once, that you have to keep, if you're in a dead end, that's pretty stuck. And so it's going to take some consistency and effort to turn it around, but it's possible. It doesn't have to stay a dead end. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a delight as always spending time with you.
It was so fun to see you again and fun to remember our little memories of when we connected a long time ago.
Yes, and I'll see you again at Eden Fest.
Yay! I'll be there.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.